Καλησπέρα. Καλησπέρα. Καλώς ορίσατε στο αφιέρωμα στον Julian Assange. Σήμερα είναι η Εθνική Γιορτή της Αυστραλίας, 26 Ιανουαρίου, και θα έχουμε αφιέρωμα στον Julian Assange μαζί με την ομάδα μας στην Ελλάδα, Unity 4J. Θα παίξουμε λίγα βίντεο και θα μιλήσουμε λίγο για τον Julian Assange και για την κατάσταση που έχει αναπτυχθεί, που έχει εξελιχθεί γύρω από αυτόν. Το όνομά μου είναι Wayne Hall. Έχουμε όλη την ομάδα εδώ και θα μιλήσουν. Πριν να πούμε τίποτα άλλο, θα ήθελα να δείτε κάτι από το Κοινοβούλιο της Αυστραλίας. Λοιπόν, αν δείτε αυτό, θα δείτε την εικόνα, το Free Julian. Αυτή η εικόνα εκεί είναι από την Κανμπέρα, την πρωτεύουσα της Αυστραλίας. Δυστυχώς δεν είναι καινούρια. Είναι από το 2012, από το Δεκέμβριο 2012. Και αυτοί που έχουν βάλει τα κεριά ήταν οι υποστηρικτές του Assange που μένουν στην Κανμπέρα. Είχαν βάλει 1.200 κεριά και το αποτέλεσμα είναι αυτή η εικόνα. Δυστυχώς, όπως έχουμε, παρόλο το γεγονός ότι εκείνη την εποχή ο Assange ήταν στις δόξες του, ή τουλάχιστον σε σύγκριση με σήμερα, δεν είχε δημοσιότητα αυτή η εικόνα. Ήταν σε λίγες εφημερίδες της άκρως αριστεράς κτλ. Όμως, έτσι ήταν η κατάσταση το 2012. Εκείνη την εποχή, ο Julian, τα μεγάλα προβλήματα του Julian ξεκίνησαν περίπου το 2012. Όταν έγινε αυτή η εικόνα, ήταν ήδη στην πρεσβεία του Εκουαδόρ. Ήταν μάλλον το πρώτο χρόνο που ήταν στην πρεσβεία. Θα μάθουμε όλες τις λεπτομέρειες για το πώς κατάληξε εκεί και πώς έχει αναπτυχθεί η κατάσταση από εκείνη την εποχή, που πέρασαν τόσα χρόνια και είναι ακόμα στην πρεσβεία. Και φυσικά χωρίς... Εν πάση περιπτώσει θα μιλήσουμε για όλα αυτά. Η ομάδα Unity 4J στην Ελλάδα δημιουργήθηκε στην Αίγινα και μάλλον η Ρο Μπενεσαγιά που ήταν εκεί και ήταν από τους ιδρυτές θα μας πει δύο λόγια γι' αυτό.
Ναι, γεια σας. Εγώ θα μιλήσω πολύ σύντομα για το γιατί μια ελληνική ομάδα Unity 4J. Γιατί την ιδρύσαμε. Μια μέρα συζητώντας με την παρέα μας στο λιμάνι της Αίγινας μάλιστα για τον Assange, εκπλαγήκαμε για το πόσο λίγο γνωστή είναι αυτή η ιστορία, εκτός από μερικές μικρές και τελείως αποσπασματικές αλήθειες που δεν έχουν ποτέ επαληθευθεί. Το γεγονός αυτό καθεαυτό της τιμωρίας μεταξύ εισαγωγικών που υφίσταται ένας άνθρωπος επειδή θέλησε να διαδώσει πληροφορίες είναι απαράδεκτο. Αν θέλουμε να έχουμε δημοκρατία, πρέπει να είμαστε και υπεύθυνα άτομα. Για να είμαστε υπεύθυνοι και να μπορούμε να παίρνουμε μέρος ή να επηρεάζουμε αποφάσεις, όπως αρμόζει σε κάθε πολίτη, είναι απαραίτητο να έχουμε πρόσβαση στην πληροφόρηση, ώστε να κρίνουμε ποια πρέπει να είναι η θέση μας, ακόμη και αν αυτή είναι απλά μία ψήφος μια φορά στο τόσο όταν γίνονται εκλογές. Αυτή τη δυνατότητα μας αφαιρούν, τιμωρώντας τον κάθε Assange, τον κάθε άνθρωπο που προσπαθεί να κυκλοφορήσει ευρέως ορισμένες πληροφορίες. Προφανώς η πληροφόρηση είναι προνόμιο της εξουσίας. Η ομάδα μας λοιπόν Θέλει να γίνει γνωστή στον ελληνικό χώρο η ιστορία του Assange, ώστε ο κάθε πολίτης να κρίνει αν αυτή η ιστορία αρμόζει σε δημοκρατικά πολιτεύματα και να πάρει θέση όπως είναι το καθήκον του καθενός μας. Ιστορίες ανθρώπων που ταλαιπωρήθηκαν, διασύρθηκαν ή και τιμωρήθηκαν γιατί θέλησαν να καταγγείλουν δημόσια ατασταλίες ή αδικίες είναι πολλές. Ο Assange είναι ένας από αυτούς και βρίσκουμε την ευκαιρία να ανοίξουμε μια δημόσια συζήτηση στην Ελλάδα για αυτό το θέμα, ώστε ο καθένας να μπορέσει να κρίνει και να τοποθετηθεί. Πρέπει να καταλάβουμε ότι ο πολίτης έχει δικαιώματα και υποχρεώσεις. Να καταλάβουμε γιατί η ιστορία αυτή δεν έχει απήχηση στα μέσα μαζικής ενημέρωσης στην Ελλάδα. Να ευαισθητοποιήσουμε τον κόσμο. Ευχαριστώ.
Ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ, Ρο. Μέσα στην Ελλάδα, όπως είπε η Ρο, δεν έχει γίνει πάρα πολύ γνωστό το θέμα. Έχει γίνει λίγη κάλυψη στην εφημερίδα των συντακτών και με την δικηγόρο του Assange που θα δούμε μετά, την Jennifer Robinson. Αυτή τη στιγμή όλα τα μάτια, τουλάχιστον πολλοί κόσμος αυτή τη στιγμή είναι στραμμένα τα μάτια τους προς την Γαλλία και είναι γεγονός ότι υπάρχει υποστήριξη για την υπόθεση Assange στην Γαλλία και ο Φρέντερικ Μπενταλή θα μας πει λίγα πράγματα γι' αυτό.
Ναι, λέγομαι Φρέντερικ Μπενταλή, μέλος της γαλλικής κοινότητας εδώ στην Αθήνα. Βέβαια, στην Γαλλία από το 2012 υπήρχαν αρκετά κόμματα που υποστηρίζαν το Assange και ήταν για να τους δώσουν άσυλο στην Γαλλία. Βέβαια, ο πρόεδρος Hollande το 2015 απέρριψε κάθε πιθανότητα να γίνει έτσι, αλλά τώρα έχουμε το Mélenchon που λέει ότι αν εκλαγεί θα δώσει το άσυλο στον Assange, θα το δώσει και την γαλλική υπηκότητα και σε αυτόν και στο Snowden. Τέλος πάντων, στην Γαλλία βέβαια υπάρχει ενημέρωση για το θέμα του Assange. Βέβαια, η υποστήριξη του δεν είναι, ας πούμε, ευρεία. Ξέρουμε ότι υπάρχει ένα περιοδικό διαδικτυακό που λέγεται Le Grand Soir, που κάνει συστηματικά, μεταφράζει από αγγλικά άρθρα για να ενημερωθεί το κοινό. Το Le Monde Diplomatique επίσης έχει εκδώσει το Δεκέμβρη του 2018 από το Serge Alimi, που είναι ο αρχισυντακτής του Monde Diplomatique, ένα άρθρο που λέγεται για τον Julian Assange, που είναι υποστήριξη. Υπάρχει ένα blog που λέγεται Les Crises, που μεταφράζει και αυτό αρκετά συχνά συστηματικά άρθρα για το Assange, όπως αυτό το άρθρο του John Pilger από το Consortium News το 19 Σεπτέμβριο του 2018, που καταγγέλει την προπαγάνδα και τις υβρείς δημοσιογραφών εναντί του Assange. Το άρθρο της Στεφανία Μαουριζή από το Consortium News, που καταγγελεί τη βρετανική κυβέρνηση, τις προσπάθειες της να εκδώσει το Assange, etc. Αλλά αυτό που είναι λιγότερο γνωστό είναι ότι ο Assange συνυπέγραψε ένα βιβλίο αρκετά πρόσφατα, το 2017, με τους Bernard Stiegler, Dominique Cardon, Paul Jorion, Evgeny Morozov, κάτω την αιγίδα πολλών γαλλικών ιδρυματών, ειδικά το Ινστιτούτο για την Έρευνα και την Καινοτομία του Centre Georges Pompidou. Το βιβλίο λέγεται La toile que nous voulons, είναι στα γαλλικά, που σημαίνει το διαδίκτυο που θέλουμε, και δημοσιεύτηκε το 13 Οκτωβρίου του 2017. Το βιβλίο βέβαια καταγγέλνει το γεγονός ότι το διαδίκτυο από που έχει αρχικά ιδρυθεί από το CERN στην Ευρώπη, έχει αναπτυχθεί στην Αμερική, γιατί ταιριάζει με το οικονομικό κλίμα εκεί. Από την αρχή ήταν ένα διαδικτύο που η επικοινωνία μετά σε ομάδες, πολυκοινωνιακό κτλ. Και τώρα έγινε εμπορικό και κυρίως τώρα είναι το μάτι του Big Brother, όπου δεν υπάρχει δυνατότητα να έχουμε μια πλήρη ενημέρωση και ειδικά είναι ένα μέσο παρακολούθησης κτλ. Λοιπόν, αυτά.
Ο επόμενος ομιλητής θα είναι μέρος, εν πάση περιπτώσει μπορεί να παρουσιάνει τον εαυτό του.
Καλησπέρα σε όλους. Ονομάζομαι Βακολίδης Νίκος. Είμαι συντονιστής της πρώτης αυθόρμητης ομάδας του DM25 στα Ιωάννινα και ιδρυτικό μέλος του ελληνικού τμήματος του κινήματος αλληλεγγύης στον Julian Assange, του Unity4J. Το DM25 διεξάγει εκστρατεία υπέρ της διαφάνειας στο δημόσιο βίο και κατά τη λήψη αποφάσεων. Στον αγώνα κατά της διαφθοράς και της αδιαφάνειας έχουν θυσιαστεί και συνεχίζουν να διώκονται και να δολοφονούνται πολλοί δημοσιογράφοι. Σύμβολος και σημείο αναφοράς αυτού του αγώνα είναι ο Julian Assange, μέλος της Συμβουλευτικής Επιτροπής του DM25, που κατηγορείται ουσιαστικά για έναν απλό λόγο, γιατί γελιοποίησε το σύστημα παρακολούθησης των ΗΠΑ. Κατά τη διάρκεια της απομόνωσής του στην πρεσβεία του Εκουαδόρ στο Λονδίνο, το DM25 εξέφρασε τη συμπαράστασή του με κάθε τρόπο. Στις Βρυξέλλες στις 19 Ιουνίου του 2016 έγινε μια εκδήλωση, το First They Came for Assange, όπου πάνω από 2.000 ήταν παρόντες για να συμμετάσχουν στο κάλεσμα να πάρει τέλος η δίωξη στον Assange. Παρόντες ήταν η Noam Chomsky, Patti Smith, Brian Eno, PJ Harvey, Vivian Westwood και Michael Moore, οι οποίοι ένωσαν τη φωνή τους μαζί με φίλους και μέλη του DM25 για να στηρίξουν τον Αυστραλό εκδότη. Το Θέατρο Μποζάρ των Βρυξελών πραγματοποιήθηκε επίσης μια ευρωπαϊκή συνάντηση, το Free Assange, και εκεί τονίστηκε ότι διανύουμε μια πολύ δύσκολη περίοδο για τους πληροφοριοδότες και αν δεν διατηρηθεί η πολιτική πίεση, δεν θα δούμε αλλαγή στη μοίρα του Julian Assange. Έγινε ξεκάθαρο ότι η δημοκρατία δεν είναι τίποτα χωρίς το δικαίωμα της ελευθερίας του λόγου. Όπως δήλωσε γλαφυρά ο Γιάννης Βαρουφάκης, είναι κατά κάποιο τρόπο σαν να μιλάς για ισοζυγιακό έλλειμμα οξυγόνου στο φεγγάρι, όπου δεν υπάρχει καθόλου οξυγόνο. Όταν διακόπηκε πλήρως η επαφή του Julian Assange με τον έξω κόσμο, η Συντονιστική Επιτροπή του Κινήματος ξεκίνησε εκστρατεία απαιτώντας την άμεση αποκατάσταση της επαφής του Julian με τον έξω κόσμο και να τερματιστεί η απομόνωσή του. Η συγκεκριμένη εκστρατεία συγκέντρωσε πάνω από 100.000 υπογραφές. Περίπου ένα χρόνο πριν συμπληρώθηκαν 6 χρόνια διαμονής του Julian Assange στην πρεσβεία του Ισημερινού στο Λονδίνο και η ομάδα εργασίας για την αυθαίρετη κράτηση του ΟΗΕ συμπέρανε ότι ο συντάκτης των WikiLeaks κρατείται αυθαίρετα. Εκείνη την περίοδο διατυπώθηκαν προτάσεις και δηλώσεις υποστήριξης από μεμονωμένα μέλη του DM25 αλλά και από εθνικά συμβούλια όπως της Ελλάδας και του Βελγίου με τη μορφή διακηρύξεων. Δεν έλειψαν και οι αντίθετες απόψεις που κυμαίνονταν από δισταγμό για ευθεία υποστήριξή του μέχρι και εντελώς αρνητικές. Κατόπιν εισήγησης του Ελληνικού Συμβουλίου του DM25 διεξήχθη ψηφοφορία και πάνω από το 80% των μελών του κινήματος αποφάσισε να εκδοθεί δήλωση υποστήριξης στον ιδρυτή του WikiLeaks, στην οποία αναφέρεται ότι το DM25 εκφράζει την αλληλεγγύη του στον Julian Assange και τα WikiLeaks και καλεί όλο τον προοδευτικό κόσμο να υποστηρίξει την προσπάθειά του να ανακτήσει την ελευθερία του και να επιστρέψει η ζωή του στην κανονικότητα. Οποιασδήποτε διαφορετικές απόψεις μπορεί να έχει κανείς με τον Julian Assange, που εκφράστηκε για παράδειγμα να υποστηρίζει τον Brexit, που το ίδιο το DM25 είναι αντίθετο. Παρ' όλα αυτά είμαστε περήφανοι που έχουμε στη Συμβουλευτική μας Επιτροπή έναν από τους μεγαλύτερους αγωνιστές της διαφάνειας, υπέρ της διαφάνειας. Τα WikiLeaks έχουν παίξει καταλυτικό ρόλο στο να στρέψουν τους προβολείς στο μεγάλο αδερφό και να μας έχει επιτρέψει να αντιληφθούμε καταχρήσεις και εγκλήματα που έγιναν στο όνομά μας. Δεν θα καθίσουμε με σταυρωμένα τα χέρια ενώ ο Julian Assange διώκεται ακριβώς γι' αυτό, αντιμετωπίζοντας την προοπτική της εξαφάνισής του μέσα από ένα σε εισαγωγικά δίκαιο σύστημα, σαν και αυτό που βίωσε η Chelsea Manning. Καλούμε σε άμεσο τερματισμό της απομόνωσης που υφίσταται ο Julian Assange και φυσικά στην αποκατάσταση της ζωής του στην κανονικότητα. Από τις τελευταίες εξελίξεις είναι ολοφάνερο ότι οι ΗΠΑ ετοιμάζουν μυστικό δικαστήριο για να ζητήσουν την έκδοσή του με κατηγορίες κατασκοπίας. Ένα τέτοιο δικαστήριο θα ήταν μια παροδία, μια ντροπή. Οι δικηγόροι του δεν θα έχουν καν το δικαίωμα να λάβουν στα χέρια τους τη δικογραφία. Θα διεξαχθεί και κλεισμένο των θυρών και θα τον εξαφανίσουν σε μια φυλακή υψής της ασφαλείας για πάντα. Κλείνοντας, θέλω να τονίσω ότι η ελπίδα του για ελευθερία μένει ζωντανή μόνο μέσα από τη δημόσια υποστήριξή του και την απέτηση να λήξει η επάνθρωπη και η παράνομη συμπεριφορά εναντίον του. Άνοιξε τον δρόμο της αλήθειας για όλους εμάς και τώρα πρέπει να μιλήσουμε εμείς για λογαριασμό του και κατά αυτών που θέλουν να κλείσουν το στόμα των πληροφοριοδοτών. Σας ευχαριστώ για την προσοχή σας.
Ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ, Νίκο. Σήμερα είναι 26 Ιανουαρίου, η Εθνική Γιορτή της Αυστραλίας. Σημερινή είναι επέτειο της άφησης του πρώτου στόλου των Βρετανικών πλοίων στο Port Jackson, στη Νέα Νότια Ουαλία της Αυστραλίας. Με άλλα λόγια, γιορτάζεται η άφηξη του ευρωπαϊκού πολιτισμού στην Αυστραλία υπό τη μόρφη μιας βρετανικής φυλακής στο Σίδνεϊ. Οι εθνικές γιορτές πολλών κρατών είναι επέτειοι επαναστάσεων. Η εθνική γιορτή της Ελλάδας, για παράδειγμα, 25 Μαρτίου, είναι η επέτειος της αρχής της Ελληνικής Επανάστασης ενάντια στην Οθωμανική Αυτοκρατορία. Κάτι παρόμοιο δεν έχει γίνει ποτέ στην Αυστραλία. Πολλοί θα έλεγαν ότι δεν υπήρχε ανάγκη να γίνει, αφού η ιστορία της Αυστραλίας είναι μια ιστορία ομαλής συνταγματικής εξέλιξης μέσα στο πλαίσιο μιας εξυγχρονιστικής κοινοπολιτείας. Η Αυστραλία δεν είχε ανάγκη για ήρωες. Όμως, η ημέρα της Αυστραλίας, όπως λέγεται η Εθνική Γιορτή της Αυστραλίας, σήμερα αμφισβητείται. Αμφισβητείται από τους αυτόχθονους πληθυσμούς και τους Aborigines και τους υποστηρικτές τους, οι οποίοι τον αποκαλούν ημέρα της εισβολής. Αμφισβητείται επίσης από τους πολίτες που συνδέουν την επίσημη Αυστραλία με την υποστήριξη και συμμετοχή στους πολέμους των Άγγλων και των Αμερικανών. Εκεί δεν είναι γενικά αποδεκτή η Εθνική Γιορτή της Αυστραλίας στις 26 Ιανουαρίου. Ο διεθνώς γνωστός Αυστραλός δημοσιογράφος John Pilger, που θα δούμε μετά, το 1981 έγραψε βιβλίο που ονομάζεται ακριβώς «Ήρωες». Οι ήρωες στο βιβλίο του Pilger δεν είναι εκείνοι που πολεμούσαν τους εχθρούς της Βρετανικής και μετά της Αμερικάνικης Αυτοκρατορίας. Είναι εκείνοι που αγωνίστηκαν ενάντια σε αυτούς, συμπεριλαμβανομένων και εκείνων που ξεσκέπασαν τα ψέματα που διαδίδονται προκειμένου να ετοιμαστεί το έδαφος για την αποδοχή εγκληματικών πολέμων. Ο Pilger είπε, είμαι δημοσιογράφος εδώ και πολλά χρόνια. Αυτό είπε πέρυσι στο Σίδνεϊ σε δημόσια ομιλία για το Assange. Ποτέ δεν είδα τόση διαφθορά στον χώρο μου. Είναι σαν ένας κόσμος ψευδαισθήσεων να έχει αναλώσει τα τελευταία οχυρά της ειλικρινούς ισιοδογραφίας στο όνομα της σάπιας εξουσίας, των πολέμων και κυνηγιών μαγισσών, στα οποία επιδίδεται. Ο Julian Assange είναι είναι από αυτά τα τελευταία οχυρά. Είναι δυνατό ένας ήρωας της δημοσιογραφίας να μετατραπεί σε σύντομο χρονικό διάστημα, σε κατάπτυστο παρία. Έτσι δείχνει να είναι πραγματικότητα που αντιμετωπίζει ο Assange. 7 χρόνια πριν ζήτησε άσυλο στην πρεσβεία του Εκουαδόρ στο Λονδίνο, υποστηρίζοντας ότι δεν μπορεί να περιμένει δίκαια μεταχείριση ούτε από τις αρχές της Σουηδίας, ούτε από εκείνες του Ηνωμένου Βασιλείου, επειδή οι ΗΠΑ έχουν σχηματίσει κατηγορητήριο εναντίον του. Αν φύγει από την πρεσβεία, θα συλληφθεί. Αυτά λοιπόν. Θα δούμε ένα βίντεο τώρα. Αυτό το βίντεο είναι από την κρατική τηλεόραση της Αυστραλίας. Λέγεται Sex ψέματα και ο Julian Assange. Θα δούμε τα πρώτα 10-11 λεπτά. Προβλήθηκε τη Δευτέρα, 23 Ιουλίου 2012. Εν τω μεταξύ έχουν περάσει πολλά χρόνια, αλλά η κατάσταση είναι όπως ήταν τότε για το Assange, χειρότερο. Αυτά λοιπόν, να δούμε το ντοκιμαντέρ, την αρχή του ντοκιμαντέρ.
He humiliated the most powerful country in the world. But his relationship with two Swedish women and their claims of sexual assault may yet destroy Julian Assange.
You shouldn't write such text messages if you had been raped by that person the night before.
I will not tell any media of how I'm going to represent the women in court. I'm sorry.
Sex, lies, the Swedish justice system, the founder of WikiLeaks, and somewhere in the background, an angry and embarrassed US government. A tangled web indeed. Welcome to Four Corners. Julian Assange may have suspended his fate at the hands of a Swedish court by claiming political asylum in the Ecuadorian embassy in London, but the Swedes are not going away anytime soon, nor are the British police, who are waiting to arrest him and extradite him to Stockholm the minute he attempts to leave his temporary sanctuary. Assange's troubles in Sweden go back almost exactly 2 years. The first sensational intelligence and diplomatic leaks had already hit the public domain. In the American government's eyes, Assange had become public enemy number one. But for many others around the world, he was a cause celeb. But for all their power and influence in the world, they had seemed impotent to stop the leaks, or somehow make Assange pay for what they saw as espionage. When it emerged that two young Swedish women were pressing charges against him, alleging rape and molestation in somewhat curious circumstances, and extradition proceedings began in the British courts, Assange alleged that America was somehow manipulating the whole process behind the scenes in order to in turn extradite him back to the US and face the judicial music there. On the assumption that Assange can't stay in his Ecuadorian diplomatic sanctuary forever, and while we await the outcome of that standoff, Four Corners has gone back to Sweden, where the drama began, to pin down what actually happened there and take a closer look at the inconsistencies in the various versions of events. Here is Andrew Fowler's report.
In late 2009, WikiLeaks set up home in the Iceland capital of Reykjavik. It was a perfect fit. Iceland has world-class internet. Its constitution forbids censorship. Julian Assange was made welcome. It was here that Assange received the first leaked cable of the now famous Cablegate documents. It centred on the US Embassy in Reykjavik. Birgitta Jonsdottir, an Icelandic MP, was working with WikiLeaks. She received an invitation to a cocktail party at the embassy.
Cocktail parties are mind-numbingly boring, and I only go if I have a reason. So I actually decided, I thought it was sort of funny, and I'm a bit of a prankster sometimes. So I decided it would be quite funny for me to go with one of the WikiLeaks people to the embassy.
She invited Julian Assange, but on the day of the cocktail party, she couldn't find him. Birgitta Jonsdottir decided not to go, but Assange did. In a moment of monumental chutzpah, Julian Assange inveigled his way into the cocktail party here at the US Embassy. He struck up a conversation with US diplomat Sam Watson. Several weeks later, Assange published confidential cables authored by the very same diplomat. Now, Sam Watson hadn't leaked, and neither had any of the other US Embassy staff. Nonetheless, there was a massive internal investigation.
I think that many people thought that he had actually gone in and mysteriously sucked out the cables with some a spy device or something.
But once the document came out, it was convenient to say it might have come from the embassy.
Of course, yeah.
Which would have driven the United States intelligence agencies crazy trying to find out where this leak came from.
Yes. Well, you know, they all need to have a reason to earn their bread.
It was the first act of humiliation by WikiLeaks of the world's greatest superpower, but it was nothing compared to what was to come.
Light them all up.
Collateral murder.
Come on, fire!
The gunning down of unarmed civilians in a Baghdad street.
Clear.
And the Afghan war logs. 8 months after his taunting of the US in Iceland, Assange landed in Sweden. He was now a cyber celebrity.
I would say it was like a pop star arriving in Sweden. He made public appearances, and many media companies wanted to talk with him about eventual cooperation with WikiLeaks.
Assange had come to Sweden to speak at a conference, but he was also there for more intriguing reasons. To negotiate the use of a former underground nuclear fallout shelter that stores internet servers. It would provide first-class security against the prying eyes and ears of the world's intelligence agencies. The bomb shelter houses the computer hardware of Rick Folkving's Swedish pirate party.
We contacted them first, as in just offering server space, right?
Yep. It might sound like a wacky organisation, but in Sweden it's taken seriously enough to have a member in the European Parliament. The party's close to WikiLeaks.
So we knew about them, they knew about us, we saw they were in trouble, and we said, hey guys, we might be able to help you out here.
Folkving offered WikiLeaks some space in the bunker.
It's an amazing place, to be honest. But yeah, that's where we offered them hosting space. I don't know how they're using it. I shouldn't know how they're using it. That would interfere with my interests. But I understand it got quite some attention worldwide that WikiLeaks is now hosted in a nuclear bomb-proof fallout shelter.
Assange was on a roll. Stockholm, August the 16th, 2010. Julian Assange caught a train from the central station. All the years of hard work were finally paying dividends for Julian Assange. Collateral murder had been released, so too had the Afghan war logs. But what would happen in the next few days would derail the WikiLeaks juggernaut. Assange was not travelling alone. His companion was Sophia Wilén, a 26-year-old admirer. As Assange and Wilén left the train to spend the night together, they could have no idea of the repercussions that would flow from their one-night stand. Assange's life would later descend into turmoil. 2 days earlier, the faithful and adoring had gathered at the LO building, Stockholm's trade union headquarters. In the audience were two women, Sophia Wilén in the pink cashmere sweater and Anna Arden. Assange was staying at Arden's flat. They'd slept together the previous night. Later, she would tell a friend she had a wild weekend with Assange. Sophia Wilén was enthralled by the Assange phenomena. She texted during his talk, "He looked at me."
He came to Sweden on the 11th of August 2010, and he had this apartment where one of these women lived. She was supposed to be away, so he could stay there. But she came home on the Friday night, 13th of August, and then they had consensual sex. And he continued to stay in that apartment until the 18th of August. But in the meantime, he made acquaintance with the other woman, and one night he traveled to her town in Sweden, and they had consensual sex.
The sex with Sophia Wilén in her apartment might have been consensual, but critically, there was a question over whether Assange had used a condom. The next day, Assange caught the train back to Stockholm. Wilén stayed at home, worried about the possibility of an STD infection. She later rang Anna Ardin, Assange's lover of the previous week.
Somehow, the two women started to exchange text messages with each other and started to discuss what had happened, and they ended up at the police station, but they did not file any charges against Julian.
Ardin and Wilén went to central Stockholm's Klara police station to see if they could compel Assange to take an STD test, should he refuse.
But the police interpreted what one of the girls said as some sort of sex crime having been committed. And that resulted in a prosecutor the same night issuing a warrant of arrest for Julian.
Όποιος ενδιαφέρονται για αυτό το ντοκιμαντέρ. Μ' ακούτε? Ναι, για όποιος ενδιαφέρονται για αυτό το ντοκιμαντέρ. Έχει πολλές άλλες λεπτομέρειες, αλλά επειδή υπάρχει πίεση χρόνου εδώ, μπορείτε να το δείτε στο YouTube, υπάρχει στο YouTube. Λοιπόν, να συνεχίσουμε λοιπόν. Στις 25 Μαρτίου του 2018, η κυβέρνηση του Εκουαδόρ έκοψε τη διαδικτυακή σύνδεση του Assange στην πρεσβεία. Προκειμένου, όπως είπε, να εμποδίσει ζημιά στις σχέσεις του Εκουαδόρ με τις χώρες της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης. Επειδή ο Assange είχε επικρίνει τα κατασταλτικά μέτρα που πήρε η Ισπανία ενάντια στους αυτονομιστές της Καταλωνίας. Αυτή η επίσημη απαγόρευση έθεσε τέλος στην επικοινωνία του Assange με τον έξω κόσμο. Τελείωσε αυτό. Το ακόλουθο καλοκαίρι, μια επίσκεψη 2 στελεχών της πρεσβείας της Αυστραλίας άναψε ελπίδες ότι η κυβέρνηση της Αυστραλίας θα είναι έτοιμη επιτέλους να αναλάβει τις ευθύνες. Αυτός ήταν στην πρεσβεία του Εκουαδόρ επειδή δεν δέχτηκαν αυτές τις ευθύνες. Παρόλο που στην αρχή της ιστορίας, περίπου την εποχή που συλλήφθηκε λίγο μετά, η τότε πρωθυπουργός της Αυστραλίας είπε ότι ο Ασάνζ έχει το δικαίωμα προστασίας από την κυβέρνηση, από το κράτος, όπως κάθε Αυστραλός. Αυτή έφυγε, ήταν από το Εργατικό Κόμμα και έφυγε λίγο μετά από αυτό, από την εξουσία. Δεν ήταν πάρα πολύ αξιόπιστη υποστηρικτής, αλλά μετά από αυτό ούτε στα λόγια δεν ακούστηκαν τίποτα σε υποστήριξη του Assange από επίσημες πηγές. Εκείνη την εποχή αρκετοί πρωθυπουργοί, υπουργοί, διάφοροι είπανε ότι το κράτος, το Αυστραλιανό κράτος θα έπρεπε να υποστηρίξει το Assange. Τα πράγματα άλλαξαν μετά. Εν πάση περιπτώσει, όπως είπα, αυτή η επίσκεψη στην πρεσβεία, μέσα στο κλίμα αισιοδοξίας που επικρατούσε εκείνη την εποχή, προβλήθηκε ένα ειδησιογραφικό πρόγραμμα σε μεγάλο εμπορικό τηλεοπτικό κανάλι, ιδιωτικό. Και θα το δούμε τώρα, ολόκληρο. Θα δούμε ολόκληρο αυτό το ειδησιογραφικό πρόγραμμα. Όταν θα είμαστε έτοιμοι.
One of the most polarising figures of modern times, WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange. This week he was back in the headlines again after it was confirmed that Australia is now providing him with some consular assistance following a visit from two officials from the High Commission in London. Is it a sign that there may be a breakthrough in the case, which has lasted almost 8 years and began with a Swedish arrest warrant in 2010?
Well, we're about to speak with Julian's lawyer, Jennifer Robinson, who was at that meeting. But first, let's take a look back at how this story has unfolded.
This is the Ecuadorian embassy in London, which has been Julian Assange's home since 2012. He was granted diplomatic asylum there after the UK ordered his extradition to Sweden for questioning over alleged sexual assaults. Assange denied those accusations, saying they were part of a smear campaign and a bigger plot to see him face charges in America.
The United States must renounce its witch hunt against WikiLeaks. The United States must dissolve its FBI investigation.
Since its creation in 2006, the controversial whistleblowing website has published a huge number of classified US government files, including Hillary Clinton's emails during the 2016 presidential campaign, which led to a massive fallout.
That the FBI, as part of our counterintelligence mission, is investigating the Russian government's efforts to interfere in the 2016 presidential election.
Those activities have kept Assange on America's most wanted list. Then a breakthrough. Last year, Swedish prosecutors dropped their rape case.
7 years without charge. Why my children grew up without me. That is not something that I can forgive. It is not something that I can forget.
Now there may be a glimmer of hope. Officials from the High Commission have visited Julian for what's believed to be the first time in nearly 6 years. It's a possible first step towards freedom. And joining us from London is Julian Assange's lawyer, Jennifer Robinson. Good morning to you, Jen. We really appreciate your time. Now, this visit this week has been significant. What sort of consular assistance has there been from Australia to this point?
Well, the answer is very little. It's been more than 6 years since Julian has had a visit from Australian officials. And the question is not just about consular assistance. The question is actually about what diplomatic representations Australia is willing to provide for an Australian citizen who is in an incredibly serious situation. Of course, he sought asylum in the embassy almost 6 years ago. It's 6 years he's been inside that embassy in 2 weeks' time. And the reason he went in there and the reason that this case has been so controversial is because of the risk to US extradition and because Australia, the UK and Sweden refused to seek assurances from the United States to protect him from that risk of extradition. He remains inside the embassy today because of that risk, and it's only gotten worse over the years. We've now seen, since the Trump administration came to power, the director of the CIA saying that they are going to take down WikiLeaks, that they will find a way to prosecute him and they will not offer him the protections under the First Amendment, constitutional free speech protections. This is an incredibly serious situation. We're looking at an Australian citizen who's been under some form of restriction on his liberty for more than 7.5 years without charge. And what we would like to know is when the Australian government, who is uniquely placed to try and seek a resolution to this case, is going to step forward and provide assistance.
Jennifer, he's been inside the embassy since 2012. Has he stepped foot outside the embassy at all, out the back door, one step, anything?
No, the only pictures you've seen on the balcony I could count on one or two hands. There is no outdoor area. There is no outside area where he can be in the sunlight. There's no outside area where he can exercise. The British government has refused to allow him to go outside even for exercise purposes to seek medical treatment. And we've had a group of British doctors assess him recently and say that his mental and physical health is at extreme risk. And are calling on the British Medical Association to take steps to put pressure on the British government to ensure he can have his healthcare taken care of. It's hard, I think, for anyone to imagine what it can be like, but he has been effectively in a ground floor flat with no outside access for 6 years. I just don't think anyone can imagine what that's like.
No. What would happen if he did leave?
The British authorities have said that he would be arrested to face potential bail proceedings related to his decision to seek asylum inside the embassy. He is more than willing to face British justice, but not at the risk of facing American injustice. So if he were to walk out without an assurance against US extradition, in circumstances where the Trump administration have said that prosecuting him is a priority, he would be arrested, put into prison, and then we expect that there would be a sealed indictment from the US that would be executed, and he could be in prison again for many years facing extradition.
Okay.
So what we would like to see is the Australian government seek the assurance that is required to bring this situation to an end.
Okay, he's effectively a prisoner though now, Jen. The fact that he could go to US and be a prisoner again, but at least he'd be serving out a term.
But let's think about what would he be serving out a term for. He's facing extradition and prosecution for his publishing activities with WikiLeaks. This is an organisation that won the Sydney Peace Prize for its work, that's won the Walkley Award for most outstanding contribution to journalism. Why should he be...
Something that I can forgive. It is not something that I can forget.
Now there may be a glimmer of hope. Officials from the High Commission have visited Julian for what's believed to be the first time in nearly 6 years. It's a possible first step towards freedom. And joining us from London is Julian Assange's lawyer, Jennifer Robinson. Good morning to you, Jen. We really appreciate your time.
Under the First Amendment, constitutional free speech.
Outside the embassy since 2012, has he?
Outside area where he can exercise. He would be arrested to face potential bail proceedings related to his decision to seek asylum inside the embassy. He is more than willing to face British justice, but not at the risk of facing American injustice. So if he were to walk out without an assurance against US extradition, in circumstances where the Trump administration have said that prosecuting him is a priority, he would be arrested, put into prison, and then we expect that there would be a sealed indictment from the US that would be executed, and he could be in prison again for many years facing extradition.
Okay.
So what we would like to see is the Australian government seek the assurance that is required to bring this situation to an end.
Okay, he's effectively a prisoner though now, Jen. The fact that he could go to US and be a prisoner again, but at least he'd be serving out a term.
But let's think about what would he be serving out a term for. He's facing extradition and prosecution for his publishing activities with WikiLeaks. This is an organisation that won the Sydney Peace Prize for its work, that's won the Walkley Award for most outstanding contribution to journalism. Why should he be extradited to face prosecution for publishing activities which are protected under the First Amendment and protected under free speech laws here, indeed, and in Australia? This is a very serious situation. The WikiLeaks alleged source, Chelsea Manning, faced cruel and unusual treatment in prison, and the situation that he would be facing in the US is one that no one should stand for. And I don't think that any other Australians, no right-thinking and decent Australians, would like to see a fellow Australian citizen extradited to the US to face that kind of treatment.
Well, Jennifer, the only thing on that, though, is he's been inside for 2 administrations, so you can't blame this on Trump and the Trump administration, because Obama was in power when he first went in there and still he wouldn't come out. So what would you say about that?
Well, this has been a risk. This was the grand jury and the criminal investigation was opened by the Obama administration, and that continued throughout the Obama administration, even though there are clear free speech reasons why this criminal investigation ought to be stopped. But what we've seen since Trump came to power are far more public statements by a number of officials, including the US Attorney General, including the director of the CIA, saying that they are going to take WikiLeaks down and prosecuting is a priority. It's a far more public and aggressive stance than the Obama administration ever took. And it's time that the Australian government and the UK government stand up against that risk.
But Jennifer, can you blame any government for not wanting their state secrets published?
Of course, there are circumstances in which secrecy for governments are important, but WikiLeaks publications have been incredibly important in revealing what journalists the world over, and including in the numerous awards they've won, for demonstrating human rights abuse, corruption, and corruption in diplomatic relationships around the world. These are incredibly important disclosures, and I think that they've been recognised in the awards that they've won. I think it's a great public service and one that many around the world have recognised. So should a publisher who has been responsible for providing this information that's been used in human rights cases around the world, that's admissible as evidence before the courts here in Britain and elsewhere, should that person face prosecution for having provided us the benefit of that material? And the answer is, of course not.
What needs to happen to end the stalemate then, Jen?
The same thing that we've been asking for more than 7.5 years, which is an assurance against extradition to the United States. This is a completely standard procedure in cases around the world. The UK could have insisted on it when he faced extradition to Sweden. The Swedish case has since been dropped. It's the only reason that he's inside the embassy. And if the Australian government would come to the fore and help to resolve this situation, he could come out of there at any time.
OK, Jed, just about you. You're an Australian. You were born and bred in the New South Wales Southern Highlands. You're living in London now, and you represent Julian pro bono. Why?
I think all Australians feel, well, at least as an expat Australian being abroad, that we have an obligation to help each other. And in circumstances certainly where there's a fellow Australian who's in incredibly difficult circumstances, cut off from his family, far away from home, our own government not doing anything to help him, in circumstances where he's taken incredibly principled decisions to provide a public service to us in terms of the information that we need to better understand the way that governments act and behave, to document human rights abuse. How can we not help him? How could you let an Australian be in this awful situation and not do something about it? And that's why I find the Australian government's position entirely unacceptable, and one that makes me ashamed to be Australian.
Jennifer, thanks for your time this morning. We wish you all the best.
Yes, indeed. Thanks, Jen.
Thank you.
Μάλιστα. Λοιπόν, να πούμε αυτή τη στιγμή ότι αυτή η κίνηση των αξιωματικών που πήγαν στην πρεσβεία, από ό,τι φαίνεται είχαν καλές προθέσεις, αλλά δεν έχει συνέχεια. Κάπου σταμάτησε και δεν έχει συνέχεια μετά από αυτό. Δεν ακούστηκε άλλες από επίσημες πηγές άλλες κινήσεις που να δημιουργούν αισιοδοξία. Λοιπόν, λίγο πριν από τα Χριστούγεννα του 2018, όπως είπα, από τον Μάρτιο, τα πράγματα ήταν πάρα πολύ πιο αυστηρά μέσα στην πρεσβεία, γιατί προσπαθούσαν να βρουν τρόπο να ξεφορτωθούν, να βρουν κάποια λύση που να τους βγάλουν το φίδι από την τρύπα, ας πούμε, για τον εαυτό τους. Αλλά λίγα πριν από τα Χριστούγεννα του 2018, πέρυσι δηλαδή, παρατηρήθηκε ελαφριά χαλάρωση στις συνθήκες διαμονής του Assange. Θα σχολιάσει τώρα ο John Pilger, ο δημοσιογράφος που είχα πει δύο λόγια για αυτόν στην αρχή, που έγραψε το βιβλίο «Ήρωες». Έχει γράψει πολλά βιβλία βέβαια, αλλά το βιβλίο «Ήρωες» ήταν κάτι που έγραψε την δεκαετία του 80. Λοιπόν, ας ακούσουμε τον John Pilger.
Well, I'm welcoming John Pilger right now, and I thank him for joining us. John, of course, needs really very little introduction. He's a great filmmaker and journalist, and it's an honor to talk to him. So, John, you just visited Julian Assange at the embassy. But first, before we get into that, how did you arrange that? Because my understanding has been that the Ecuadorian government cut off all visitors except his family and lawyers. And now we've had Stefania Morizzi of La Repubblica seeing him a couple of weeks ago. You went to see him, and now these German Bundestag members went yesterday. So tell us how you were able to arrange this before we talk about your meeting.
Well, there's been clearly a little loosening of the rules, not much. Those of us who are close friends of Julian have been allowed, but not many. Yesterday, I think it was a delegation from the Bundestag, German parliamentarians, went to see him. So why it's become suddenly a little more flexible, I'm not sure. It may have something to do with the fact that on the day I saw Julian, the new ambassador of Ecuador had just landed in London. Now, his mission is to resolve, quote unquote, the Julian Assange situation. So there's a great tension at the moment. A tension, an expectation, what does this mean? And Julian's family and friends are gathering around him as much as they can over the Christmas and New Year period, because there is a feeling that perhaps an expulsion is coming. We don't know. We don't know. They may know more now, but if it comes, it will be sudden.
So, in a sense, it sounds ominous that they're allowing him his last visits with friends and finally around Christmas before they might actually move in, of course, with the British authorities, with the agreement of the Ecuadorian government. They can't enter without that. Now, when was the last time you saw Julian? And then what was your impression of him compared to the last time you saw him?
Well, the last time I saw Julian was perhaps 3 months ago, 3 or 4 months ago. Perhaps it's longer than that now. Yes, it would be longer. The restrictions were in place in March, so it is much longer than that, I'm afraid. It's over 6 months since I saw him. I have to say that he's in very good spirits. The extraordinary resilience of this man is something to behold. In his own personality, intellectually, he is Julian, and he and I went over many subjects, as we always do. His very dark sense of humour is intact. That hasn't changed. He looks very, very pale, very ashen. I'm not a doctor, Joe. I can't say exactly what Julian is feeling at the moment. His health is probably holding steady, but he urgently needs a comprehensive diagnostic work done. For many years, he had a cough which wouldn't go away. That has to be looked into. Having said all that, people should know that Julian's spirits, his whole sense of to hell with them, and his own resolve to stand up to those who would want to do a great injustice to him is undiminished.
He is as defiant as ever then that he's not leaving that embassy. He understands what's happening right now.
Yeah, he's not leaving. They'll have to throw him out.
Yeah.
He's not going anywhere.
No, so he hasn't lost any of his intellectual edge, you're saying. Now, how well informed is he about events in the world? Do his lawyers bring him newspapers? How does he keep in touch with what's going on?
He's I think in recent weeks he's become much better informed, and people who've come to him have clearly brought information to him. The wonderful world of WikiLeaks is that they know how to circumvent so many restrictions, so many limitations. And in some ways, Julian Assange, even in his isolation, has never been totally isolated. He has been in touch with people. That said, he said to me, you know, there was one point where I wondered whether I really wanted, whether it was necessary to see other people. I started to get used to my own company. And then I realized this is the beginning of something that should not be allowed to progress. And so he was almost getting used to his own isolation. Now that's classically a prisoner accepting the the restrictions of his deprivation, even of his sensory deprivation. So those symptoms were beginning to show. He recognized them immediately, and that's when his friends and lawyers and colleagues, I think, have come to see him, and he's alone part of the time, but people are coming to see him.
And he has some contact then through his lawyers, I suppose, with people running WikiLeaks right now. Does he have any kind of directions that he could still give? Does he have an active role in the work of WikiLeaks?
I don't think he has direct active role at the moment. He's left that to Christian, who he appointed editor-in-chief and of WikiLeaks. So he doesn't have a direct role. There's too much else going on around his own situation. His threat is so ominous that clearly that consumes him.
Right.
I mean, what has been consuming in the past are the attacks on him. The Guardian's entirely fabricated story of Manafort and Russians visiting Julian. I personally can confirm that did not happen.
You clearly discussed that with him then. You discussed the Luke
Yes,
Harding, the Luke Harding story.
Fabrication. It did not happen. It wasn't possible. The way the internal security works in that embassy, it was not possible. Anyway, it didn't happen. That story was a major fabrication by The Guardian. It can't be called anything else.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fiction. But The Guardian have been challenged over this, including by its former Guardian journalists. That questions have been sent to the editor-in-chief of The Guardian, Catherine Viner, asking her to explain, and only silence has come from The Guardian. Really is an indication of kind of degradation of the media today, and especially, I would say, of the once, quote, respectable, unquote, media. So we discussed that a great deal. Those attacks have come over the years, thick and fast. And for one man to cope with them is an extraordinary feat. I've watched Julian not quite absorb those attacks, but his first instinct is to analyze them, to expose their baselessness. He'd never, only occasionally does he express the anger. He does it, but to express the anger that any of us would feel of, say, an attack like The Guardian's utterly false story on Russians visiting him. I don't think Joe, I don't know about you, but I don't think in my career as a journalist, I don't think I've known a story that expresses so well the Cold War of today. It reminds me of what I grew up with. I grew up in the first Cold War as a child. I don't remember it quite being, of course I was only a child, but I do remember my father being affected by it and being angered by it, but I've never known it to be as outrageous and as explicit as it is now. And that Guardian story, that fabricated Guardian story in attacking Julian is an example of that.
I would add, and as little understood, as it has ever been, because at least during the first Cold War, there was quite an awareness of what was happening, and there were diplomatic contacts between both sides. It was, in a way, less dangerous than today, and you're absolutely right. This story of Julian highlights, because it brings together the Russiagate saga and the issues of control of the media, and to the extent where The Guardian has, as you said, fabricated a story. They're supposed to be on the public side, and they're obviously on the side of the state, as anyone who does not support Julian is, on the side of the state against the people. Did you discuss with him any of the legal aspects of his case? I assume you did. Are you at liberty to talk a little bit about that?
The legal aspects of the case are, as you might imagine, incredibly complex on one side, but they're very simple on another. The simple side is that a way of getting Julian out of there, a way of getting the British government to honour its obligation to the United Nations Working Party panel, which, as you know, described Julian's situation in the embassy as unlawful detention and called on the British government to give him right of passage as well as compensation. Getting the British government to honour that obligation, as it does honour other United Nations obligations, is one of the main concentrations of his legal support at the moment. It's also thinking ahead, and when, rather I suppose than if, Julian is expelled from the embassy and he is arrested and he is taken to the Senior Magistrates Court in London, where he will appear before a judge. In fact, she's the Chief Magistrate, a woman known as Lady Arbuthnot, whose own position is severely compromised. She is the wife of Lord Arbuthnot, who appears notoriously in WikiLeaks cables and is part of the arms national security establishment structure in this country. A great deal of discussion takes place about how to deal with that first court hearing. It will be effectively, I suppose, a bail hearing, because that's all. There are no charges against Julian. The one he's likely to be charged, I suppose, with infringing the terms of his bail. But in any other circumstances, the time he has spent in detention, in unlawful detention, as the UN calls it, would more than compensate the state, the Crown in this case, for this infringement. So there's a great deal of discussion among the lawyers of the tactics to deploy if and when that happens. And obviously I couldn't talk about them, but he has very good lawyers. He has his lawyer in London, his main lawyer, is Gareth Peirce, probably this country's greatest human rights lawyer, who has successfully defended those who've come up against the state in some of its draconian anti-terrorism laws, anti-refugee laws, and famously in the war with Northern Ireland. Gareth has been Julian's lawyer now I introduced them for about 8 or 9 years. He's in good hands there. There are many others. who Jen Robinson, who often is the person that does speak to the media and does it very eloquently and forcefully. She's been Julian's lawyer for even longer. So those people are ready and waiting for what might happen. What isn't there and what is needed, and that's why a vigil like this is so important, Joe, is the public. We talked about the differences between the First Cold War and the Second Cold War. I remember the First Cold War certainly by its opposition. In those days, there was opposition. Of course, then the unions were strong. And I'm talking about, I grew up in Australia, which mimicked much of the Cold War in the United States. But there was an opposition in those days. There isn't a popular opposition now. The so-called liberal opposition is so confused, so disorientated, and so almost wretched in its uncertainty, in its uncertainty of its true allegiances, in its collusion, that there simply isn't a major anti-war. That was, of course, Barack Obama's, in my view, Barack Obama's single achievement. He destroyed the anti-war movement by being there. They thought, oh, well, that's fine, we'll go home now. That's the difference. And what we need now, Julian, in many ways, Julian is a touchstone for opposition to so much of what is happening in our world. The rise of fascism in so many parts of the world, the threat of nuclear war. I think of all the cases that illustrate resistance to that, there's none like that of Julian Assange, and he needs popular support. He needs people to go into the street outside the embassy, to go in the street all over the world, as they've done in the past. He needs that popular support. In Australia, where I was recently, I read that one television survey, it was after an interview that Pamela Anderson gave on Australian television in support of Julian, and the survey showed that survey of something like, 7,000 people, 92% of them supported Julian and wanted the Australian government to take diplomatic action to bring him home. That's a very high number. I believe that the great sleeper in many countries, I think in this country, in spite of an unrelenting and at times vicious media campaign against Julian Assange, in this country there still is a great deal of popular support. In the United States, I believe that's true. You would know that better than I, Joe, but it's that support needs to come out now. This is a critical time.
Well, John, I want to thank you very much for those words, and I hope that they inspire people to do just that. And thank you again for joining us at the beginning of this vigil from London.
Thank you, Joe.
Bye-bye.
Στο τελευταίο απόψινο μας βίντεο βλέπουμε τον Έλληνα-Αυστραλό υποστηρικτή του Assange, Phillip Adams. Οικογενειακή καταγωγή αναγνωστόρα, όπως θα εξηγήσει ο ίδιος, που διεξάγει εντατική διεθνή καμπάνια υπέρ του Assange, συλλέγοντας υπογραφές. Μέχρι τώρα έχει μαζέψει 28.000 υπογραφές και επικοινωνώντας με πολιτικούς. Κάνει μια φοβερή καμπάνια. Ας ακούσουμε Ας δούμε ένα βίντεο και μετά να τον ακούσουμε, ελπίζουμε, με live streaming.
Γεια σας. Εγώ είμαι ο Phillip Adams. Δεν μιλάω ελληνικά καθαρά. Θα το κάνω στη αγγλικά. Hello everybody and thank you for watching. I want to first of all I'd like to thank the Unity4J Greek team for inviting me to produce this video. Okay, so who am I? I'm Phillip Adams from Brisbane. I'm from Greek father and half Greek mother. My father was born in Egypt. He was a Greek from Egypt. Surname was Anagnostaras. And my mother was from a Greek mother, Papatsikourou from Leros, and a Maltese father. So I'm 75% Greek and a little bit of Maltese thrown in there. But pretty much I'm Greek. My father's side, Anagnostaras, has a heritage back, very proud heritage to the Greek War of Independence. An ancestor of mine, Anagnostaras, is a Greek war hero. So I very much look upon what he did back in 1821, the first victorious battle against the Ottomans in 400 years to bring about Greek independence, and draw strength from what he did back then, and in some way channeling that into this current campaign. So, okay, what is this current campaign? Well, I initiated and direct the Australian Free Julian Assange before it's too late petition. It's a petition open to everybody in the world, including in Greece, to sign it and support it. It's an international campaign. But it's being submitted to the Australian government, specifically the Prime Minister, the Foreign Minister, and it is delivered by petition notices. Each time we pass 1,000 signatures to Prime Minister, the Foreign Minister, and 226 parliamentarians that make up the entire Australian government. Okay, why did I start this petition? Well, after extensive research on the matter of Julian Assange, it became clear to me that there was something significantly wrong going on here, and I needed to do something about it. I recognised there was about 40 other petitions that had actually started, and many of them seemed to go nowhere. 100 signatures, 50 signatures, 1,000 signatures, and then stop. One which appears to be working very well is the one by Yanis Varoufakis, the former Greek finance minister and founder of, or one of the founders of DiEM25, Democracy in Europe, and that is working quite well. They have, congratulations, they have passed 100,000 signatures, which is fantastic. That petition is directed to the Ecuadorian government to maintain and open communication channels to Julian Assange, which is great. We need that. However, that's not going to get him free, which is why I started this particular campaign, petitional movement. I started it in July, and now we've amassed 25,000 signatures. We're approaching 25,000 today. It's been very difficult to get it going. It's been attacked and hacked, and attempts to derail it on multiple occasions, but it's still growing. Now, the important thing about the petition that I initiated, which you can find the links on this site, is that it is correctly targeted to free Julian Assange. Julian Assange is an Australian citizen and more recently became a dual citizen and a citizen also of Ecuador. But he is born and bred from Australia. In fact, he lived a lot of his life, some of his life, where I live now in Brisbane. And I have worked with people that went to school with him. So I have a little bit of, I don't know him. I am in contact with his family, members of his family. I'm just, if I can say so, I'm a marketing and sales person from the corporate world, campaign specialist, and I felt as though I knew how I could do it, make it happen. I understand where this has to go. I understand who the decision makers are that hold the keys to freeing Julian Assange, who hasn't been charged with any crime, yet surrounded by police 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for the last 6.5 years, in an embassy in London, and for the last 8 months has been in solitary, locked in a room, no sunlight, no communication, no contact with family, no health care, all for publishing evidence provided to him as a journalist that exposed systemic government corruption and war crimes. And the slaughter of Reuters journalists in Iraq, the Chelsea Manning tapes, which is what we expect of a journalist, actually. When somebody provides a journalist with evidence of corruption, us as people want to know it and we want to clean it up, not punish the journalist that published the corruption, evidence of corruption. So this matter became something I had to get involved in, and I decided on July the 11th, after much planning, to kick it off. And it started slow, it boomed, and then it was attacked, cyber attacked, and then it boomed again and it was cyber attacked again, but it's back on, it's working, it's never stopped, never stopped. And as I said, it's correctly targeted. It's targeted to free him, not just to allow a microphone or to talk to his family, but for him to walk out and be free. And that's what we want. And it's the Australian government's responsibility to provide that. He is an Australian citizen. And to date, we haven't seen anything meaningful from the Australian government to free him. In fact, we may have seen complicity to keep him in there, to silence him. And that's not acceptable to the people. We've had 2 polls by 60 Minutes Australia, the television program, and it's somewhere between 70 and 91% of respondents on those polls on Twitter and Facebook want the government to free him and bring him home. My petition, it's 25,000 signatures and growing of people that want the government of Australia to secure his freedom and to allow him to come home to see his family or to go wherever he wants to go and resume his duties as a journalist if he wants to, but not stay in this torturous, ridiculous situation in an embassy in the middle of London and have us just ignore it. No, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen anymore. And with your help, we'll get him out sooner rather than later. We need your signature. We need your support. He's been in there for 6.5 years. He hasn't been charged with any crime. Yet surrounded by police 24/7 every day. If he walks out, there's a secret extradition order to the United States that will be served on him, and he'll be sent to the United States to Guantanamo Bay or some military prison, and we'll never see him again. He'll be walking around in a jumpsuit with his hands chained and his legs chained. Not on. Not on. He's a journalist. He did nothing wrong. He did exactly what we want him to do. And with your help, we're going to get him out. We're going to do the right thing. This is people power. Absolutely, it's people power. We don't fear anything because we have the law on our side. This is right. We've got to get him out. And we're going to make the government do their job and get him out. Let him see his children. Let him see his family. Let him see his mother. Give his mother a kiss. Give his mother a hug. Not going to stay in that ridiculous situation of torture. Thank you very much for your time. I'm hoping you'll share this, and we're looking forward to seeing Julian Assange walk out of that embassy and resume his life after healing after this terrible situation. Thank you and love to you all. Yeah.
Ευχαριστώ στον Φίλιππο. Θα κάνουμε άμεση επαφή σε λίγο με τον Φίλιππο, live streaming. Εν τω μεταξύ όμως, ο Θάνος Κονταργύρης θα έρθει για να ακούσουμε ερωτήσεις και να κάνουμε κάποια συζήτηση και σε λίγο ο Φίλιππας θα έρθει να συμμετέχει και αυτός.
Καλησπέρα. Νόμιζα ότι θα το κάναμε στο τέλος της συνάντησης. Η πρώτη ερώτηση ίσως που ήθελα να απευθύνω, βεβαίως οι περισσότεροι που είναι εδώ πέρα, είναι άνθρωποι οι οποίοι είναι ενημερωμένοι για την υπόθεση του Assange. Διαπίστωση που μπορούμε να κάνουμε είναι ότι πολλοί γύρω μας δεν γνωρίζουν τα διάφορα επεισόδια και σε κάποιο σημείο έχουν χάσει λιγάκι τη ροή της ιστορίας, έχουν μείνει στις διώξεις που υπήρχαν για τον Assange για τη Σουηδία και γενικότερα δεν υπάρχει αυτή η πληροφόρηση για τις συνθήκες κράτησής του εδώ και 6,5 χρόνια. Δεν ξέρω αν ορισμένοι από εσάς από τις πληροφορίες που είχαν απόψε ή βρήκαν κάτι καινούριο ή απλώς αυτά που γνώριζαν και τι τους εντυπωσίασε το περισσότερο. Αν ορισμένοι θέλουν να πούνε κάτι, θα ήταν ενδιαφέρον για μας για να ξέρουμε αν άδικα κάναμε αυτή τη βραδιά ή αν έφερε κάποια πληροφόρηση που δεν είχατε και ποια ήταν. Ναι, θέλεις να ρωτήσεις κάτι αν το... Ναι.
Ναι, εγώ ήθελα να ρωτήσω κάτι. Αυτό το προηγούμενο βίντεο που είδαμε πριν από το Phillip Adams, το Ridge, πώς το λεγόταν, δεν ξέρω. Αυτό έγινε πριν 1 χρόνο, όχι αυτά τα Χριστούγεννα του 18, τα Χριστούγεννα του 17. Το προηγούμενο βίντεο, όχι αυτό, του Phillip... Ναι, αλλά εδώ υπάρχει κάτι που δεν είναι καθαρό, γιατί οι μεν λένε ότι είναι σε απόλυτη απομόνωση και ο άλλος είπε ότι τον ανοίξανε λίγο και τον αφήσανε.
Το Μάρτιο, το Νοέμβριο, μέχρι τα Χριστούγεννα περίπου, ήταν σε πλήρη απομόνωση. Αλλά άλλαξαν.
Η χρονική σειρά, έχεις δίκιο να το επισημάνεις, η χρονική σειρά, το τελευταίο interview αναφέρεται σε μια κατάσταση πριν την κατάσταση του Δεκεμβρίου. Ναι, το τελευταίο αναφέρεται σε κατάσταση πριν. Από το Δεκέμβριο άνοιξε λιγάκι η κατάσταση. Η δραματική κατάσταση ήταν το Νοέμβριο, όπου ήταν σε πλήρη απομόνωση και εκεί οι διάφορες κινητοποιήσεις φαίνεται ότι είχαν τουλάχιστον κάποιο αποτέλεσμα και έχουμε κάποια σχετική και νομίζω οι 100.000 υπογραφές δεν είναι εντελώς χωρίς αποτέλεσμα, πράγμα ενθαρρυντικό για τις κινητοποιήσεις γιατί αυτές οι 100.000 υπογραφές που ήταν προς την κυβέρνηση που τον κρατάει στην πρεσβεία και τον είχε απομονώσει, έφεραν κάποιο αποτέλεσμα. Μπορούμε να το εξηγήσουμε. Μπορεί να είναι και αυτό, αλλά υπάρχει και μια άλλη ερμηνεία που εγώ θέλω πιο ενθαρρυντική για όσους κινητοποιούνται. Κάναμε αυτή.
Hi. You're with us in Phillip. Can you hear me?
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Phillip.
Γεια σας.
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, well, ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ να είμαι εδώ. Δεν μιλάω ελληνικά καθαρά, θα το κάνω στα αγγλικά. So thank you very much for putting this on. I have some news today that would be an exclusive to your program. I'll leave that till the end of the discussion.
Έχει κάποια είδηση, δηλαδή χρειάζεται μετάφραση. Δεν είμαι ο καλύτερος διαρμηνέας, ας πούμε, αλλά χρειάζεται. Δεν χρειάζεται.
If I can say, I find it very difficult to hear. So the commentary. So can we just refrain from talking whilst I just make this discussion, because it's very muffled on the connection. I apologise.
We don't need translation.
Okay, we're approaching, the Australian petition is approaching 30,000 as I speak. We're about 20 off it at the moment. The petition, of course, delivers a notice to the Australian government each time we pass an additional 1,000. So unlike other petitions, this petition is very, very active in its contacting to the government. In contact to the government, I mean that it delivers to all 226 parliamentarians via their personal email, Australian Parliament House email server. Now, and it's been consistently delivering every week to each and every one of them with confirmation of delivery. So I know very well that each of them have been receiving the communication. Okay, so what has happened this year? Well, in the term of this year, we have received high-level contact from various parliamentarians in Australia, and only showing support for the campaign. And only yesterday, well, in the last 24 to 48 hours, I directly received a notice that there's a possibility, an invitation it's looking like, to have the petition tabled in the Australian government. So what that means is we're actually reaching a point now where we are in the government, communicating with each and every one of the governments, and we will be registering the petition and preparing to register the petition in the government record. Further to that, which is a significant advancement of the petition, is we confirm that what John Pilger in his article, in his commentary, was referring to, related to the public interest and ability to develop a welling up of public support for this campaign. Well, that is very much front and centre of what this petition is doing. And with the high-level contact that we've successfully secured in the Australian government, it looks like we are moving on to the next stage to free Julian Assange, and that is applying direct parliamentary pressure to the politicians to affirm and follow what the citizens are demanding of them to support actions to free Julian Assange by guaranteeing no extradition to the United States. Further to that, we are also going to be seeking direct confirmation from each and every one of those 226 Australian parliamentarians as to whether they agree to support the petition to secure a no extradition guarantee from the United States, or whether they will remain silent or negative to that request. If they do affirm and agree that we should free Julian Assange and guarantee no extradition to the United States, they will appear on a fame register, a hero register for politicians that the Australian people should support in the upcoming election in the middle of the year. Australia, of course, is having an election this year, and the seats are very evenly balanced. So with such a strong support from the Australian public, this matter will resonate amongst the voting public. We will have a fame register for politicians that are supporting the campaign, and we will have a shame register for those politicians that are either silent or negative to this. So I just wanted to let everybody know as an exclusive that we have had contact, initiated contact back to the petition organisers, that there are now parliamentarians that are willing or interested to table the petition in Parliament. So that's all I really wanted to say. And thank you very much for the opportunity to bring this news, great news, to everyone in Greece.
Be in contact, and we're going to push this for all we are worth.
Yeah, I'm terribly sorry, but the audio was very bad. I cannot distinguish what you're saying.
Well, we can hear you very well. There's no problem. Okay, thank you very much from us here. We'll
Thank
have
you.
Yeah. All right. Δεν ακούει, okay.
Γεια σας και φιλιά σε όλους σας.